So now let's come to the point, that is the list data structure, what we discuss about the list data structure. Today we have discussed the collection data type, and we have discussed basic things about the list data structure. So we had created a list, and in list we had stored the duplicate data, and we use some functions like remove function we have used. So function is also said to be a method in Python. So yesterday we had discussed and we had created a list. So let's create a list I'm going to create. I'm starting the Python shell, so you can use this ideally directly. So how we can start ideally, we have discussed, that is type Python. So ideally you can directly start. So by starting ideally, it will open the shell. So on shell you can practice of Python. Similarly, I don't want to use this ideally now, so just type here py or Python. So shell will be open here. Now we are practicing on this shell. We have discussed, that is a list. For example, I want to store the elements like 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 we are going to store, and this is my list. Like what I am doing, I am printing this list by typing print L. So similarly, like I am having another list. Suppose I'm going to create L1, I'm going to create, and it can store the duplicate values, of course. So 10 we are going to store again. Okay, if I'm going to print this L1, so we can print directly L1. Okay, suppose I want to remove from this list. So how we can remove that? L1 dot remove function was there, as we discussed. L1 dot remove 40, suppose. So it will be removed. So we can print this. So only so 40 is removed now. Like yesterday someone has a question, sir, how we can remove the duplicate elements? So we can remove the duplicate elements by the index number. First I want to remove the 10. So let's check how we can remove the 10. So like I'm going to remove the 10. So if I'm going to print the L1, so first element will be removed, means first 10 will be removed, because index will be start from the 0. But what I want to remove from the anywhere where my duplicate element is available. Okay, so what we can do is, we have to find the index number of that, and by index number we can remove that. So what is the index number of the 10 now? So index number of 10 now is -1. Okay, if you are starting from the backward, so my 10th index number is -1. If you are starting from the 0th index, so 0, 1, 2, 3 index. So how we can do that? Like remove we can say, and then we have the L1 list is there, and L1 is having suppose we want to remove the 10. So we can mention directly -1. Okay, so let's print. So of course 10 will be removed. So if you want to remove the duplicate elements, so we have to use the index numbers, and suppose I'm mentioning any number, so it will be start from the 0th index. Okay, from left to right it will be start. So now let's discuss in detail about the list, so that we people have a clarity that how we can work with the list. So let's start from the basics. Suppose I'm going to create a list. So I'm having a list L1, and L1 I'm going to create, and suppose I want to create an empty list first. So I am having a list that is empty list, and suppose I want to print this list. So how we can print that list? So just print L1. I want to print the type of this list. So what is the type of this list? So we can use the type function to check the what is the type of this list. Okay, so now save it and run it. So first exit it from the shell. So we have to use the exit function. So we are exited from the shell, and now we have to run this Python code. So py add.py is my file. Okay, so this is the empty list, and what is the type of this list? This list type is list. Okay, now let's discuss the basic operations. So like suppose if you already know we are having elements, so we can create the empty list as well. But if we have elements, so we can directly mention the elements, like suppose 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. Okay, so same program we can run. So of course we are starting from the basic, we can directly mention them into the list. Okay, similarly in Python we can directly accept a list. Okay, so what you can do is, so let me write the code to accept numbers for the list. Okay, so what we are doing here, suppose I have a L1 element. Okay, we are taking the input, we are having an input function. So by input function, in input function we are asking that enter the list, enter the list. Okay, so whenever we are entering the list, so we need to use, that is eval function is there. So what is the function name? That is eval. So eval function is used to evaluate the values. So like expression we can pass, anything we can pass. Okay, so eval function we have to use here. Then we have the print L1 we have printed, then type we can print if you want to print the. Okay, so let me now execute the program. So python add.py is there, python add.py. So enter the list. So if you want to enter the list, so what we need to do, we have to pass the values. Like I'm passing the values 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 like this. Okay, so we have passed the values, and then we can directly print. Means if we don't know about the elements for the list, so we can create simply empty list. If we know about the elements, so we can directly pass while creating the programs and while creating the list. And if you don't know about the elements, and if you want to take the input from the keyboard, so we can directly pass the values from the keyboard into a list. So how we can do that? We have to use the input function first, then we have to use the eval function is there. So eval function is what? Eval function is doing, it is evaluating the result. Okay, even you can pass any expressions there. Means like suppose I have passed here like at least I have been passed, so you can like pass like a plus b into c divide by d, like this expression you can directly pass into this eval function. So what eval function will do? Eval function will evaluate, and that will be stored result into the left hand side variable, and then left hand side variable will be printed. Okay, so that you can do with the eval function. So this is very important function, eval function.